Tips to get started with analog synthesizers. Welcome to the world of analog synthesis. If you're new to the game, you may be feeling a bit overwhelmed by the complex-looking knobs and buttons on your new instrument. But fear not, getting started with analog synthesizers can be a fun and rewarding experience. Number 10. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Analog synthesizers are all about experimentation and creativity. Don't be afraid to play around and make mistakes. Some of the most unique and interesting sounds are born from mistakes and happy accidents. So don't be discouraged if your first few attempts at creating a sound don't turn out as expected. Embrace the process and have fun with it. Number 9. Utilize effects. Effects are a great way to enhance your analog synth sounds. Whether it's a delay, reverb, or distortion, effects can add depth and character to your patches. Experiment with different effects and see how they can transform your sound. Number 8. Explore different waveforms. Analog synthesizers offer a variety of waveforms to choose from, such as sawtooth, square, triangle, and more. Each waveform has its own unique sound and can be manipulated in different ways to create interesting textures. Take the time to experiment with each waveform and see how they can be shaped and combined to create your desired sound. Number 7. Understand signal flow. Signal flow refers to the path that an audio signal takes through the different components of a synthesizer. It's important to understand how signal flow works in order to create the sound you want. Typically, the signal flows from the oscillator to the filter, then to the amplifier. Take the time to learn the signal flow of your specific instrument and how it affects the sound. Number 6. Get creative with modulation. Modulation is a key aspect of analog synthesis. It refers to the process of controlling one parameter with another. For example, using an LFO, low-frequency oscillator, to modulate the cutoff frequency of a filter. Modulation can add movement and interest to your sounds, so don't be afraid to experiment with different modulation sources and destinations. Number 5. Start with a simple patch. When starting out with analog synthesis, it can be tempting to dive right into creating complex and elaborate patches. However, it's important to start with a simple patch and get a feel for how the different components of your synthesizer interact with each other. This will help you understand the basics of synthesis and make it easier to create more complex sounds in the future. Number 4. Learn the basics of synthesis. Before diving into creating your own sounds, it's important to have a basic understanding of synthesis. This includes concepts such as oscillators, filters, envelopes, and more. Taking the time to learn these fundamentals will make it easier for you to create the sounds you want. Number 3. Experiment and have fun. Analog synthesizers are all about experimentation and having fun. Don't be afraid to try new things and see what sounds you can create. There are no rules in synthesis, so let your creativity run wild and see where it takes you. Number 2. Get to know your instrument. Analog synthesizers can seem overwhelming at first, but take the time to get to know your instrument. Read the manual, watch tutorials, and experiment with different settings and parameters. The more you familiarize yourself with your instrument, the easier it will be to create the sounds you want. Number 1. Don't be intimidated. Analog synthesizers can seem daunting, but don't let that intimidate you. Remember, everyone starts somewhere and it takes time and practice to become comfortable with any instrument. Don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance, and most importantly, have confidence in your own abilities to learn and create with your analog synthesizer. By following these tips, you'll be well on your way to creating unique and interesting sounds with your analog synthesizer. Remember, it's all about having fun and letting your creativity shine. So don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and most importantly, have fun with your new instrument. Happy synthesizing!